the territories. Léo-Paul Provencher.
Alors, bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone.
So, good morning, everyone.
Je vais vous présenter ma conférence en français.
I'm going to be making my presentation in French. I'm sure that our interpreters will then allow us to communicate afterwards. I accepted to take part in the preparation of the 150th celebration of Canada with great pleasure, given that this forum provides us the opportunity to share our experiences of the Canadian North. This is an experience which is very inspiring, which I'm also hoping that I can communicate and invoke wherever you are, because I love this part of the country, and I have been here for 10 years where I've discovered all sorts of riches. Its greatest riches is its inhabitants. So I'd like to briefly tell you a few stories that are focused on the Northwest Territories Francophonie. I can't tell you everything in 10 minutes, but I would like to invite you to let yourself be enchanted and maybe give you a taste for acquiring more knowledge. A few pictures which are worth 1,000 words. We're here gathered together. Citizens come from 150 different countries. We're working together to build this part of the Canadian world. We've been doing this for centuries, and then it was in a different way since 1967, when the administration of the territories was ceded from Ottawa to Yellowknife. Our territory measures 1,183,085 square kilometers. It's 1/8 of the surface of Canada. Maybe the 150th anniversary will be the inspiration to change the Canadian motto that will become from sea to sea to sea. So you won't be surprised that I'm very enthusiastic, even though we're not very numerous, because the Northwest Territories are huge. Conclusion, we are also great, in a great country. I was invited to speak to you about the Francophonie. I'm very proud to do this with you, with the humility that's appropriate for someone who's been here for 10 years. I'd like to tell you something that happened 3 days after I arrived here. I joined a group of people who were singing around a campfire on the shores of Great Slave Lake in June 2003, and it sounded French, but it also sounded Spanish, English, and Dogrib. However, there were only about 15 to 20 people there. What an amazing diversity in this north. These people all seem to share the pleasure of living there together. This was a very, very vivid first image, which I keep in mind in my work as a community developer. I was truly smitten, and the words which came to me were, I'm at the United Nations here. So Francophones are not the only people here, but we have been here since the 17th century. As early as the 17th century and during the entire 18th and 19th century, Francophones actively participated to the exploration of the Northwest Territories, which comprised the entire west and northern regions of Canada. They were able to come here. It's because there were already inhabitants in the north who were the guides for their explorations and with whom they traded. Francophones established the trade routes for the lucrative fur trade with the Aboriginal communities. Names such as François Beaulieu and Laurent Leroux are well known here. The Beaulieu family name is very widespread here. You have to believe the rumor that says that our ancestors liked to stay up late. Francophones are present in great numbers in the Northwest Company's trading post as guides, interpreters, traders, and managers. Yes, the Northwest Company, not the Hudson's Bay Company. There were two rival companies. I'd like to take advantage of this moment to salute the 9 Aboriginal communities with whom we share these vast and rich territories and with whom we look forward to broadening our partnerships. Very soon, temporary settlements of white people and of Aboriginals were created. With over time, there were more settled communities established with the Métis. These places soon became the points of the establishment of institutions of the Catholic missionaries, the Oblates and the Sœurs de la Charité de Montréal, or the Grey Nuns, who played a leading role in decreasing the gap in achievement for students in the North, and also who set up 5 hospitals between 1914 and 1974. This is a contribution to the North which deserves great respect in spite of some difficulties that have been recognized. A little bit about the century from 1880 to 1980. The Francophones in the North helped at this time to achieve the desire of the Canadian government to extend its territory towards the west. This process was dominated by an Anglo-Saxon ethos and by British culture, and the migration towards the prairies accelerated starting in 1880 and came to change the socio-political landscape. In short, there were many clashes between Francophones and Anglophones. In the Northwest Territories, the teaching of English became mandatory in 1901, and it's only in 1984, 83 years later, that the NWT Legislative Assembly reestablished French as an official language. Consequently, it's no surprise to see that the concept of modern Francophonie was born in the Northwest Territories in the beginning of the 80s under the impetus of the Constitutional Act. The Official Languages Act of 1969 and its amendments, and the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms of 1982, especially sections 16 to 20 and 23, form the background of the adoption of the Official Languages Act of the Northwest Territories in 1984. This was the fruit of lengthy discussions between the federal government and the territories, and it gave rise to a negotiated agreement in which the federal government committed to ensuring the complete funding of services in French language, and as long as it funded the community development of Aboriginal groups. Obviously, the day after the adoption of this law did not lead to instant and complete implementation. This has colored the relationships of the Francophonie with the federal and territorial governments. There was a major court case which was launched in January 2000 and went all the way to the door of the Supreme Court in 2009. However, the Supreme Court did not decide to hear the case. We believe this recourse was justified, but it did lead to inevitable tension between the parties and also put on hold the provision of communications and services in the French language. This difficult period is fortunately now behind us, and the adoption in October 2012 by the Legislative Assembly of the NWT of the strategic plan for communications and services in the French language is certainly a successful solution. A consultative cooperation committee between the Franco-Ténoise Fédération and the territorial government was created in 2010, and it nurtured the adoption of this plan and enables a sustained collaboration between the community and the government to facilitate its implementation, its promotion, and its evaluation. We're very happy to have taken up the challenge of the adoption of the plan. This process, which lasted more than 2 years, gave rise to a strategic readjustment on the part of community representatives in order to adopt an approach to work which is based on cooperation and collaboration. We chose to focus on such a collaborative approach, and we remain optimistic as we observe the serious undertaking of implementation in the context of well-detailed ministerial plans, of the appropriate mechanism for the delivery of services and communications, which has been greatly improved for all Francophones and Francophiles. Starting in 2013, we will assume the responsibility to contribute to the identification of community needs and also contribute to the assessment of the results results after every year in collaboration with the government. I will also now give you a little bit of a family portrait of the last 35 years. The Association culturelle Franco-Ténoise was created in 1978, then it later became the Fédération Franco-Ténoise. We are 35 years old, and we're proud to feel a certain degree of maturity now pervade our strategies, our interventions, our global development plans, and our partnerships. Let's talk about community dynamism. The Federation comprises 4 community organizations in the municipalities of Yellowknife, Hay River, Fort Smith, and Inuvik. These 4 associations support cultural life and community life. In terms of communication services, the L'Aquilon newspaper has been published weekly since 1986, and Radio Taiga, CIVR, which is 103.5 FM, which our friend knows very well, has been broadcasting since 2001, and for the last 2 months has been broadcasting via internet. The Association des parents ayant droit, so the parents have the right to send their children to French school from Yellowknife, is also a member and looks for the provision of quality education in French language for those whose mother tongue is French. Its main priority is creating a school which is equipped with a good infrastructure and good community services. The Collège Nordique Francophone is the last born member of this association of family since 2009 and ensures the development of post-secondary services. 2 other groups complete these administrative infrastructures, the Fondation Franco-Ténoise and the Azimut Communications company. Other Francophone groups are important on this family portrait. The Commission scolaire francophone des Ténaux and its 2 Francophone schools, the Alain Saint-Cyr School in Yellowknife, 1999, and the École Boréale in Hay River, 2005. The second group is the Conseil de développement économique des territoires du Nord-Ouest, who's been in existence since 2002. The Federation and its team of employees, in addition to political representation, offers health services in French, welcomes Francophone immigrants, youth services, aînés Franco-50, so for seniors, and also we can do something else. We can provide services according to the community needs. I would have liked to introduce you in greater detail to our institutions, which support the community development and enrich our multiple partnerships and our collaborative structures with all partners on many work committees. But maybe we can do that on another occasion. Before I conclude, I'd like to give you a few aspects of the socio-demographic picture of our community, snapshot, mainly based on the 2011 census data. The total population of the Northwest Territories seems to be about 41,040 people. The Francophone population is of 1,200, so about 3% of the population. Population who can speak French, 3,720, so more than 9.6%. There are 605 citizens who speak French at home, and this has increased by 31.5% since the 2006 census. The Canadian average at that time was 3.3% increase. Be careful, the French language spoken regularly varies by more than 10%, so there are differences in each census, so we have to take that into account. The number of inhabitants who have French as their mother tongue has increased by 10.7% between 2006 and 2011. The number of bilingual inhabitants has increased by 66%. The number of people who use French only has decreased by 10% over the same period. Our immigrants come from many, many different countries. There are 75 people, and 50% of them are from Europe. The others have arrived from Africa and Asia. Let's talk about economic vitality. Highly educated Francophone population, 1,145 have university studies, which is the double of the national average. 475 went to college, 155 went to trade school. 40% of our workers work in public administration, education, health, and social services. 100 Francophones are owners of businesses or are in business. Our workers have an annual income of $55,276. So $10,000 higher than the average in the territories. 50 are in healthcare, 115 in teaching, 65 in construction business, 55 in mines, 55 in transport, so in just about every field. Francophones are older than Anglophones. The median age is 40 as opposed to 30. That has a certain significance. So I'm going to stop here since there's not much time left. I just would like to give you a few words on the paradigm changes and the ways of working with our partnerships which have changed. In 2009-2010, we developed a 5-year global development plan, which defined our main strategic axes relating to our population, the Francophone space, the cultural identity and sense of belonging, and our leadership and organizational capacities. The uniqueness of this work is that we didn't do it just in our associative network with our members, but with all our main partners, including government representatives. This has been a very rich and inclusive approach. It was an amazing experience. We also have collaborated with people at the municipal level and doing this more and more. I would like to conclude by giving you a list of questions which may help us begin our discussions to better prepare the 150th celebration. There are fewer and fewer young people who have French as their mother tongue. So should we aim for bilingualism or 2 equal official languages? So as we approach the future, and these data comes from a conference, a talk by Mr. Corbeil at Stats Canada last week. So in 2031, growth will be mainly due to international immigration at a proportion of 90%. So what proportion of this immigration will go to the Northwest Territories? The non-transmission of French is increasing outside Quebec. So what strategy should we adopt? A major issue. Immigration changes the aspect and the structures of a country. Do we have enough knowledge? Have we done enough research in that field? There seems to be a wave of centralization on the horizon. How could we organize ourselves differently to ensure maintaining a true equality between Francophones and Anglophones, especially in the Northwest Territories, where there are smaller services and there is a limited quantity of options in terms of services? Re-engineering, restructuring community services according to strict parameters, strict economical parameters. Will this be capable of recognizing our specialization with a honest social analysis? How could we better synchronize our interventions to avoid overlap and to reinforce inclusive partnerships? How can we all work together to efficiently and effectively support the vision of Canada for the North? Thank you for your attention and for your patience. I think I went a little bit beyond the time that I was allotted. Well, I have a question for you. What distinguishes the Francophones in the North from the other Francophones in Canada? I would say that the main difference is that they're less numerous, not as a percentage. We're comparable to other provinces in terms of percentage, but in terms of actual numbers, we're a small group, so there are less possibilities for us. For example, in selection, in the organization of consultation meetings, to organize the consultations in the Northwest Territories is a huge challenge in the 4 communities where we're most present. We're also present in Norman Wells, but it's hard to get gather together a credible group of more than 10 to 15 people. If we gather together the most intelligent people or the most representative people of the area, we can carry out consultations, but the numbers are very small. At the cultural level, who is the Francophone from the territories? The typical Francophone in the territories. There's a diversity of culture. There's an important group of Acadians, of Québécois, but I'm not an ex-Québécois. I'm a Franco-Ténoise. There are people from different Canadian provinces, and cultures also vary. So at the cultural level, we're all close together with each other. It's like traveling to a foreign country. When we find someone who speaks the same language as us, we stick close to them. So, same thing for people here at the cultural level, but it also brings an enriched culture in terms of differences. Léo-Paul Provencher from the Fédération Franco-Ténoise. Thank you very much.
All right.